Surat Al-Baqara. So it's an early Madani surah. It's broken down to an introduction and two parts. That's how this, so you can see how other surahs are broken down differently. Some surahs I'll tell you the theme and purpose right at the beginning. Some surahs I'll tell you the theme and purpose somewhere in the middle. And some surahs like Surat Al-Baqarah, I'll tell you the theme and purpose at the end. After we've broken down all the ayat, I'll tell you the theme and purposes. It's just based on how easy it is to kind of explain the theme and purpose. Whether I need the ayat for you to understand the theme and purpose, or whether I need the theme and purpose for you to understand the ayat. Every surah is kind of different. So there'll be a different way of doing it. So it's 286 verses. That's the longest, the largest number of ayat in a certain surah. It is 6,144 words, which is the largest number of words in a surah that I have in the Quran. It's 49 pages, and it's the longest in the Quran by far. 49, but you're going to see the longest after that is going to be 29. So a full juz'at difference, which is 20 pages. A full juz'at difference between Al-Baqarah and the closest surah in length to it, which is Surah Al-Nisa. The closest one is Nisa. There's a whole juz'at difference. So you understand Surah Al-Baqarah is very, very unique. Okay. It starts with separated letters as a challenge. I talked about Alif Lam Mim before. I'm not going to repeat it again today. It's a challenge. It's telling the Arabs, aren't these the letters you use to write your sermons and write your poetry and do all the stuff that you're good at? Go ahead. Offer something as deep and as artistic and as beautiful and as beneficial as this if you can. And of course they couldn't. And they tried. And they failed. So the introduction is the first 29 ayah of the surah. Serves as an intro for the whole Quran as well. It's not just an intro for the surah itself. It's an introduction to the whole Mus'haf. The points of the intro that I talked about last time, I'll just break them down for you. Again, you can with the way I'm going to do this, you can just have a Mus'haf open in front of you, and you can go through the verses with me. And if there are questions, if there's a certain word you want to ask, please put your hand up. I'm happy to answer a question if there's a word that you're unclear of. Or if you're reading the ayah and you're not sure how my breakdown applies to it, please ask me, because that helps me, inshallah, in drawing this closer to you as we go along. Whether you have a Quran or you have on your phone, it's fine. I would advise just to take a look at the verses as we go along. So the first ayah talks about the confidence in the Quran itself. It's a book. This book starts with confidence in the book. Meaning it doesn't start by saying, there are mistakes, forgive us for the mistakes, we tried our best. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala off the bat tells you, this is the book. There's no other book, there's no doubt this is the best book that will ever be read. And He's telling you right that off the bat, and that gives you a certain level of confidence when you're reading it. Number two, there are three types of people. The verses from 2 to 20. They talk about the three types of people that exist in this world as far as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is concerned, as far as the Quran is concerned. The Quran has been taught from a financial, political background. I mean, the Quran, that's what it's interested in. The Quran is not interested in talking about the breakdown from a scientific perspective. The Quran is not interested in talking about people who come from different geographical parts of the world, who have different attributes from a racial perspective, or an ethnic perspective, or in a size perspective, or how tall they're not. That's not important. These are scientific things. The science is interested in all these stuff. The genes and the genetics, that's not what the Quran wants to talk about. The Quran talks about it from a socio, spiritual, financial, political background, which are four things all put in one big group. There are three types of people. There are pious, those who are looking for answers, those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who want to be better, who want a proper way of life, who want to do the right thing, and that's something that they have already made a decision about, whether they are born Muslim or not born Muslim, that's what they're doing. Number two, there are disbelievers, people who are completely uninterested in anything to do with religion. They don't want to be spoken to about this, they don't want any of this explained to them, they've already made up their minds, and سواء عليهم, right? That's the ayah that we have in the surah itself, right? سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. The ayah at the beginning of the third page of the Quran. I'm going to use this to help me out with the numbers. Ayah number 6, that's what it says. There's no point whether you talk to them or you don't talk to them, whether you warn them or not, they're not going to listen. And then the third group are the in-betweeners. They're not spoken of as munafiqeen yet in this surah. They don't, the surah doesn't come out and say, these are the munafiqeen. No, these are the ones in the middle. These are the ones who aren't pious, specifically trying to be better, and they're not the ones who don't care. But they're the ones who are lost in between these two groups. And if you look at ayah number 10, it says في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا. There's something wrong with their hearts, which denies them from being of the pious and keeps them somewhere in the middle. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. Allah subhanahu increased their illness because they refused to actually fix it. And the ayah is continuing to talk about them and the mistakes that they made. And that goes up to ayah number 20. And we talked about this last time, so I'm not going to repeat everything just so I don't bore you. The third point is the universal command of Allah to all mankind. If you look right in the intro of the Quran, there is a universal command. It doesn't say Ya الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. It says Ya أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ. Whenever there's an ayah Ya أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ, that means it's going to go for all. This is a command that applies to every human being that ever lived. Ya ayyuhan nas, and the command itself is a universal command. It's not a specific one. It's not something that is specific to the deen. It's Ya ayyuhan nas u'budu rabbakum. So serve your Lord, or worship your Lord, regardless, depending on how you want to understand it. I still believe service is the right way of looking at it. If you like worship, that's fine. Either way is fine. Serve your Lord, the one who created you and those before you. Everyone you've ever seen, everyone who's ever lived, was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so serve Him. There's no one else to serve. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may achieve piety. I know the people we talked about at the beginning. There are three types of people: the pious, so that you may achieve piety. You need to serve Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he talks about himself subhanahu wa ta'ala a bit. So up to ayah number 23, his continuation, his commentary upon that verse itself, because he's telling you to serve Him. Well, who is He subhanahu wa ta'ala? So he explains, الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ فِرَاشًا وَالسَّمَاءَ بِنَاءً, the one who made the earth the way it is and made the sky the way it is and offered you all that you. And if you have any doubt in that, then bring something better. If you have a better theory, or if you have a better guidance, then go ahead and bring it if you can't. The ayat after that, the fourth point in the intro, punishment and reward. Ayat 24 and 25, they talk about in a very simple way the concept of punishment and the concept of reward. Ayat number 24, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا فَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ الَّتِي وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ. So if you haven't done this and you choose not to do this, then prepare yourselves for punishment. And the ayat after that, وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِن تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ. And give the good news to those who believe and follow the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they will be rewarded. So in the intro, all the basic stuff, all the big parts of the deen are being touched upon. Types of people, the universal command that we're here to serve, that part, that there's punishment and reward. And the fifth point, the Quran will give examples in all forms. Why is that here? Because as an intro is saying, well, you're going to read this book. There's an introduction to the book. You're going to be reading this book. This book will give you all types of examples. As small as a mosquito, or something even smaller, or even more simple. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no shame in talking about these things, because He created it all, and there is magnificence in everything that He made subhanahu wa ta'ala, so He'll teach it all. Some people will use these examples to increase their own misguidance, and some people will use these examples to increase their guidance. Everyone will make their choice based on what they want. That's what the ayah says. يُضِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَمَا يُضِلُّ بِهِ إِلَّا الْفَاسِقِينَ. And that goes up to ayah number 28, talking about that concept that He will teach. And some people will choose not to listen, and those are the ones who are mistaken, and that's their own choices. The final part of the intro touches quickly, or in one ayah, upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes. His magnificence subhanahu wa ta'ala, His knowledge. هو الذي جعل لكم خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن سبع سماوات وهو بكل شيء عليم. He talked about two things. He created all, and He knows all subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the end of the introduction, just a reminder of the one who was talking to you about all this stuff. The one who was bringing to you all these concepts and all these breakdowns and all these ideas is the one who created all and knows all. And that's the introduction. Those are 29 ayah, the first 29 ayahs of Surat Al-Baqara. So the first part of Surat Al-Baqara, the concept of what it's saying is saying you are a Khalifa. That's what you're here to do. This is your job description. This is your mission. This is your purpose. As a human being, that's really all you do. This is your purpose of being on the planet itself. The concept of Khalifa is important to be understood. In Arabic, the word itself is self-explanatory. If you understand Arabic, then the word Khalifa, you don't need someone to explain to you what that means. In English, it's a bit more of a challenge because of what the word translates. It doesn't really translate into a single word. It translates into a sentence. A Khalifa is someone who performs a duty or takes care of something on behalf of someone else. That's what Khalifa means. Someone who takes care or takes the responsibility of something on behalf of someone else. What that leads to us, for us to understand, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put us here on earth to take care of things on His behalf. That's why when you do something, you do it in the name of whom? And that's why every surah starts like that. The reason the Quran starts with those words, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Because from an Arabic perspective, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is an incomplete sentence. It's an incomplete sentence. It means nothing. unless you are imagining that there's some continuation. Like you can almost, I think he means that. Bismillah, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. What? In His name what? There's no such sentence that works like that. There has to be something else you're going to say after that. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In His name, we live, we serve, we recite, everything. We do it all in His name, subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're doing it in His name, then you need to do it the way He wants you to do it. It's in His name, it's on His behalf, so you make sure that you do it the way He ordered. Or else it's not in His name anymore. You can't do something against His will, or something that He wouldn't want you to do and say, Bismillah. No! You can't eat haram, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, that makes no sense. In His name, you would put that down. You wouldn't eat it. In His name, you wouldn't take something that wasn't yours. In His name, you wouldn't harm someone else, because that's not what He wants, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is how we live. It's in His name. That's what the Khalifa means. It's all part of one big picture. It's all the same. We live in His name. We're a Khalifa. We are here to carry the responsibility on His behalf, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So ayah number 30 is our job, our mission description, or our purpose, if you may. And the ayah number 30 is the one where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells it to us in a very beautiful way. He tells it to us by the story of Adam. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ, and as your Lord said to the angels, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, indeed, I'm going to have on earth a Khalifa, someone to take care of things on my behalf. There's a point here that we all miss. I'm going to, inshallah, fix this for you today. We always think about Adam alayhi salam. And whether you're joking or whether you mean it, like, if you just didn't eat from the tree, none of this would have happened. Why did you need to eat? It's just an apple. How tempting can an apple be? It's an apple. It's not cake. It's not a donut. It's an apple. Well, there must be other fruit there. Why did you eat from it? Listen to what He said, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before Adam was even created, what did He say? He said, Inni ja'ilun bil ard. I'm going to put upon this planet a Khalifa. Prior to Adam coming, the plan was for Adam to be here. It wasn't because he ate. No, that's not why. No, this was the plan off the bat. He was going to be on earth. The Malaika knew it. The Malaika already knew that He was coming to earth. Well, then why the scenario? So that Adam would learn a lesson. Adam had to come to earth with a lesson behind him. I had to have done something so we can understand what he's here to do and how he's going to do it. And so that we can carry that lesson. Not for us to spend the rest of our lives talking about, why, Abuna Adam, did you do this? To be honest, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, Musa will lose his temper and say the same thing. And we have a hadith from the Prophet, he tells us where Musa will come to, because on the Day of Judgment is such an intense moment. And people are in such... and to improve and to change. We're the only race, the only species on the planet that is capable of actually changing their surroundings to fit them instead of them fitting into the surroundings. Every other creature adapts, and that's why we have different types of evolution, because if you're not strong enough to live within this environment, you die off. And then whoever's strong will continue. But the human beings can live anywhere. And they don't adapt to the atmosphere. They make sure the atmosphere adapts to them. And they build homes, and they build factories, and they build places, and they build schools, and they build temples, and they change their surroundings to fit them. The Malaika saw that. No, this is different. So this creature, Ya Rabb, is different than all the ones that you created before. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَلَمْ أَقُلْ لَكُمْ, then I tell you I know something that you do not know. وَأَعْلَمَ مَا تُبْدُونَ وَمَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْتُمُونَ. And then He asked the Malaika to praise, to honor Adam alayhi salam, to honor him for what he was. And they did, but Iblis refused. And we'll talk about the story more as we go along. This story is going to be repeated a number of times, and I'll talk about aspects of it every time. But it just gives you the beginning of it. It tells you, yes, that he refused, and he vowed that he was going to misguide Adam. And then Adam alayhi salam was told, "Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah, wa kula minha ragadan haythu shi'tuma, wa la taqraba hadhihi ash-shajara, fatakuna min al-zalimin." Oh Adam, you and your wife live here, eat from what you will, don't touch this tree. If you do, you're an oppressor. You've made a mistake. Don't do it. You're not allowed to do it. فَأَزَلَّهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ, and the shaitan made them slip, made them make a mistake. فَأَخْرَجَهُمَا مِمَّا كَانَ فِيهِ. See how quickly the surah runs through these episodes. You'll see later in Surat Al-A'raf and Surat Al-Baqara detailed of what Iblis exactly said to Adam and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Iblis and then what he said back. Oh, it's not the details here because that's not the point. The point is to tell you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam, destined him for earth, and then put him through this experience. And then Adam made the mistake. He was told, go down. You need to go down. You need to learn to be better. You need to learn to control these whims of yours and these desires. You need to understand that you have a purpose to serve. That things won't come easily. That you have there's a bigger part, there's a bigger purpose for you, a bigger picture for you. So Adam a.s. was ascended to earth, but he was destined for it, as ayah number 30 told us right off the bat. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repented, accepted his repentance, and قُلْنَا اهْبِطُوا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا. Leave the heavens, leave the earth, leave the place of tranquility and ease, and go down. فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُم مِّنِّي هُدًى فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Ayah number 38. And if you are given guidance, you take that guidance and you follow that guidance, then you will find no sorrow and you will find no fear. And those who refuse it, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. So that's the second part, or the second paragraph in the chapter. The third paragraph in this first chapter, or first part, sorry. Examples of those who failed the mission. And this is the longest part of the longest paragraph in the first part. So the first part goes from ayah number 30 to ayah number 41, basically. As you can see, it ends at ayah number 141. The ayah number 141 is actually the end of the first juz'. So if you go, you'll see it's the end of the first juz'. The largest amount of verses and the largest amount of ayat, words that talk about things is within this third paragraph here. Examples of those who failed. Every time you see Bani Israel in the Quran, that's all they're there for. They're just examples for you. Meaning, don't do what they did. Sometimes sometimes they're actually quoted of doing good things. Not everything about Israel is negative, by the way. Not everything about Bani Israel in the Quran is a negative. Sometimes it's a positive, and we're told be like them. Sometimes and we'll come by these later in the Quran as we go along. Because sometimes Bani Israel actually did the right thing. وَأَوْرَثْنَا الْقَوْمَ الَّذِينَ كَانُوا يُسْتَضْعَفُونَ مَشَارِقَ الْأَرْضِ وَمَغَارِبَهَا الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا وَتَمَّتْ كَلِمَةُ رَبِّكَ الْحُسْنَى عَلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلِ بِمَا صَبَرُوا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's word of love and excellence was given to Bani Israel because of the perseverance they showed. Sometimes Bani Israel did right. Many times they didn't. So they are our example. Why? Because they're the last qawm before us who were given the same purpose. Musa in his Torah, he told them the same thing. You're a Khalifa. You're here to carry the mission. This is your purpose on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Musa alayhi salam went through a lot with them. Multiple phases. The phase in Egypt with Fir'aun, the phase after Egypt trying to make their way to the Holy Land and then failing, and it was a long story for Musa. A lot of turbulence. So there's a lot of lessons for them to learn, for us to learn. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes through all these lessons saying, look what we did for them, and look what they did. Don't be the same. Look at the mistakes they made. Don't make the same mistakes. And that's basically the breakdown from ayah number 40 to 123. We're going to talk about them in a moment, but I'm just breaking down the first part for you. The paragraph after that, it ends at ayah number 123. We're going to come back and go through ayah number 41, and we're going to go through them all, inshallah. But it ends at ayah number 123. At that point, the ayah is وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ. The ayah number 124 to 134. Example of those who succeeded. And it talks about Ibrahim alayhi salam, and it talks about Yaqub alayhi salam. Up to ayah number 134, to the end of the second page. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ. Rabbuhu is the fa'il, so it has a dhamma on it. So Allah, as his Lord, Ibrahim's Lord, tested him. Put him to the test. Bikalimat. Kalimat means, how do I go back? Okay, no. Very good. Kalimat means words. Again, the same thing. Asma is a very abstract way of talking about things. Kalimat is very abstract. He was given guidance, he was given words, he was told things to do. فَأَتَمَّهُنْ. And Ibrahim did his job to its full. He fulfilled his job. Alayhi salam didn't make a mistake. قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. I'm going to make you an imam. An imam is another word for khalifa. An imam is just another word of khalifa. That's why we have the same words. That's why the khalifa, the actual khalifa in Islam is supposed to be the imam. That's how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be the same thing. Works in the same way. So Ibrahim a.s. was given that opportunity. He was told you're an imam. What did Ibrahim say immediately? So look at the lesson that we take right away. قَالَ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي. Ya Rab, make also the great khulafa from my descendants. Who are his descendants, alayhi salam? Amongst them, who are his descendants? aren't the people that we just talked about, Banu Israel. They were his descendants. Those are right, Ibrahim, Ishaq, Yaqub, and the Banu Israel. So there are, قَالَوْ مِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي قَالَ لَا يَنَالُ عَهْدِ الظَّالِمِينَ. No, that's not how it works. This is not an issue of inheritance. Meaning you just inherit the deen and you keep, no. If you are an oppressor, if you make mistakes, then no, you're not going to be the Khalifa. You're not an Imam. You're not someone who is an example who can carry the mission the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted. You have to do it right. And then, of course, there's a very large lesson in that itself. Meaning, whoever, maybe many people from the descendants of Ibrahim will carry the message, but some of them won't. And some people who aren't descended from Ibrahim will carry the message, and some of them won't. So it's really a choice that you will make on your own. And then the ayat go and explain to us aspects of Ibrahim alayhi salam, fulfilling the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it talks about Yaqub himself. And it's important to talk about Yaqub because Yaqub in Israel, and the ayat before from ayat 40 to 123 have just talked about all the mistakes Banu Israel made. So it's the same, it's not Ibrahim's fault, nor was it Yaqub's fault. Yaqub actually, أَمْ كُنْتُمْ شُهَدَاءَ إِذْ حَضَرَ يَعْقُوبَ الْمَوْتِ إِذْ قَالَ لِبَنِيهِ. He gave us the example where you weren't there the day Yaqub was passing away, when he told to his children. Who are his children? Banu Israel, the same people that we were just talking about a few verses before. مَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن بَعْدِي. Who do you serve after me? قَالُوا نَعْبُدُ إِلَهَكَ وَإِلَهَ آبَائِكَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْمَعِيلَ وَإِسْحَاقَ إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا وَنَحْنُ لَهُ مُسْلِمُونَ. They said, so they acknowledged the mission, they acknowledged who they were doing it, but then they messed it up. They didn't do it properly. The final part of the final paragraph of the first part is from ayah 135 to ayah 141. It's the last page of the juz', and it's advice for us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the verses between 440 and 123 first, and then we'll talk about the ayat that have the advice. These are very, very important. They start by saying, وَقَالُوا كُونُوا هُودًا أَوْ نَصَارَى تَهْتَدُوا قُلْ بَلْ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ قُولُوا آمَنَّا. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us what to say. Others are saying, be Christian or be Jews, and that's how you'll make it. Say, no, we follow the way of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Hanifan Muslima. And he was never someone who associated anyone with Allah. And then he tells us what to say, and what to believe, how to think. So we're given our narrative. We're given our narrative of belief. Just like Ibrahim was given his words, and Yaqub was given his, and Musa later was given his, we're given ours as well. And that's basically the first part of Surat Al-Baqara. All it says is, you're the Khalifa. Here's an example of, here's the first Khalifa story of Adam. Here are the people who didn't do it well to learn from their mistakes. And here's the people who did it well, Ibrahim and Yaqub. And here's some advice for you. It's very simple. Now, points regarding the ayat about Bani Israel. So these are from 40 basically to 123. So I break them down for you. Because these are the ones that if you're trying to memorize Surat Al-Baqara, these are the ones that you find difficult. Because there's at least 8 to 9 pages, and there's a lot of details. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about a lot of issues that happen with Bani Israel, one after the other, and you can get lost. So the first one, from 40 to 46, very beautifully, the Banu Israel commands. The commands that Banu Israel were given. Here's examples of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Bani Israel to do. Whenever He tells us what He told Bani Israel, what does that mean for us? We're told the same. We're told the same. The same applies to us. And He's going to show you how Bani Israel didn't really follow them, so that we don't make the same mistake. And unfortunately, that's not the story. Just because we don't seem to look at this the way we're supposed to. So what are the commands? From 40 to 46, very beautiful verses. The first one, Ya Bani Israel, O sons of Israel, sons of Yaqub, اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأوفوا بعهدي أوفي بعهدكم وإياي فارهبون. Recall upon you the blessing that I gave you. What's the blessing? I gave you the Torah, I gave you Musa, I gave you religion, I gave you guidance. Remember that. وَأَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِي, and fulfill your covenant with me. أُوفِ بِعَهْدِكُمْ, I will fulfill my covenant with you. There's a covenant, there's an agreement. You are a Khalifa, you're here to do it on my behalf. Fulfill your parts, and I will fulfill mine. وَإِيَّايَ فَارْهَبُونَ, and fear me. Have fear in your heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَآمِنُوا, the second one. وَآمِنُوا, the first two. أَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِي, أُوفِ بِعَهْدِكُمْ. Or if you want to say اذكروا نعمتي is the first command. أَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِي, fulfill the covenant is the second command. And then وَإِيَّايَ فَارْهَبُونَ, and have fear of Allah in your heart, the third command. The fourth one, وَآمِنُوا بِمَا أَنزَلْتُ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا مَعَكُمْ وَلَا تَكُونُوا أَوَّلَ كَافِرٍ بِهِ. And believe in what I have descended upon you. And don't be the first person to disbelieve in it. Don't throw it away. You're given the words of Musa, and then you immediately, and they did it. You'll see in a moment they're gonna start worshipping the ijl. You're gonna make a calf out of gold and start worshipping it. You were just given the commandments just a few days ago. What happened? You were just a minute ago. It was explained to you what to do. وَلَا تَشْتَرُوا بِآيَاتِ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا وَإِيَّايَ فَاتَّقُونَ. And don't sell the verses of Allah, or the meanings of Allah, or the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for personal gain. لَا تَشْتَرُوا بِآيَاتِ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. What it means, this is an example of a Quranic phrase or linguistic complex. You're going to see it in the Quran many times. يشترون بعهد الله وإيمانهم ثمنا قليلا. Or لا تشتروا بآياتي ثمنا قليلا. تشتروا, to buy. بآياتي, using my verses, a small amount or something that is worthless. So don't use the verses of Allah, the teachings of Allah, as currency to gain personal gain, to achieve personal gain in your life. That's not what these are here for. Don't use the verses of Allah to achieve a personal agenda, to get ahead. Don't. But we're told not to do that. It applies to us. Now they did it. No, they did it. And they did it well, at least. They did it. It was wrong, but they did it well, at least. Now we didn't do it well. And not only did we make the same mistake, but we were horrible at it. So we got nothing. We didn't follow the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we didn't even achieve our personal agendas. We have nothing. Nothing to show for this anymore. وَإِيَّايَ فَاتَّقُونَ, have piety. وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ. And don't mix haqq and batil. Don't make haqq difficult to see. Don't try and elude the person in front of you that the batil is haqq and haqq is batil so you can get what you want. Don't tell them that this is this and it's not, because you have knowledge and they don't. Are you seeing what they're being told? You were taught the message. Explain the message clearly to everyone. Make sure you're being honest about it. Don't tell them the part you want to tell them and withhold information that you don't want them to know, so that you can elude them that this is haqq but it's not haqq. Haqq is here, you just don't want to show it to them. وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتَكْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ, and you withhold the truth. You don't want to talk about it. وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, and you know it. You know you're withholding the truth. You know you're not telling the full story. Isn't that the story of our lives? Isn't that the reality of our deen right now? Everyone will only tell you the part of it that they want to tell you, and they'll hold on to the part that they don't want. That's not important. I studied. I was very fortunate. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put me to study in different parts of the world. Very, very important time. In the 90s, I was in Saudi Arabia, the peak of the Salafi movement. That's who taught me for 10 years. It was grounded into my mind. And then I was sent to Damascus in the early 2000s, the peak of the Sufi movement. And I was dancing in mosques with shuyukh for years. And it took me years to finally take a moment, take a step back and see, why is it that we're so different? And who's wrong here? You can laugh, but that's the... Then you figure out that a lot of the information is being withheld. That people are purposefully, for whatever reason, they're not telling the whole story. وَتَكْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And it became something that is important to me, and I hope that I can relate it to what's important to you. Your job is not to control people's opinions. Your job is to relay the truth. The part of the truth that you like, and the part of the truth that you don't. Just relay it the way it is. The part of the truth that will make you popular with people, and the part of it that will make you unpopular with people. Because your job is not to gain popularity, it's not to get people to do what you think is right. Your job is to explain things to the best of your ability as clearly as possible. That's my job. I have no other person who sits in these type of spots and speaks. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala salam is one of the most difficult things to do, it's the most difficult responsibilities to carry. The only job is to explain things to the best of your ability, truthfully, and to question your intentions every single time, and to question your understandings every time, making sure, am I saying this properly, truthfully, sincerely, or do I have an agenda that I'm trying to push forward? Questioning yourself every time, making sure that you're being honest. Questioning your understanding. Did I understand this properly? Did the person who explained this to me the first time, was he sincere when he explained it to me? What did other people say? Looking at what everyone said and then trying to take the best of it all and then relay it. That's the job. That's the job. وَتَكْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Subhanallah. Wallah, you feel like you just read one page of the Quran and you have answers. You feel like you have all the answers in the world. Imagine reading the whole thing, understanding it in detail. Imagine how your brain would feel and how your heart would feel. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَارْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ. They were given rituals as well. You were told, pray. Praise your Lord and establish prayer properly. We'll talk about that inshallah in the surah where it's more relevant inshallah in detail. وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. The salah and zakat are the two, again, phrases and linguistic complexes in the Quran that you need to know. Whenever he says salah and zakat together, what he's referring to are the two types of acts of worship. There are two types. There's an act of worship that doesn't serve anyone, but the relationship between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the symbol of that is salah. That's the symbol of it. And there are acts of worship that directly help other people. Like zakah, and the symbol of it is zakah. So when he said, أَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, you're like, well, when's Ramadan? No, it's not about that. Ramadan's not important. The concept is, these are two examples. He's not going to, every time he tells you to worship him, tell you every single act of worship. The Quran would be a million pages. You never finish. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَصُومُوا رَمَضَانَ وَحُجُّوا الْبَيْتَ وَبِرُّوا الْوَالِدَيْنِ. It takes too long. So it just gives you the two basics. The two symbols. Here's the part that only helps you, the beauty, the rituals. Where you sit with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you speak to him. That's between you and Allah. I don't really directly benefit from that. Whether you do it or not, it doesn't really make a difference to my life. But when you pray zakah, it does. And then all the other acts of worship that are similar to zakah also affect my life and everyone around us. وَارْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ. I'll talk about ruku'. There'll be a part about ruku'. Again, I don't want to take forever. أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ. These ayat are important. Do you command people of piety and of high virtues, وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ, and you forget to follow that yourself? You can almost, subhanAllah, the answers of all our problems were in the first 45 verses of the Quran. أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ. You can go walk around and preach to people and forget to follow yourselves. Who preaches more ideals than Muslims? Who acts like they have a higher moral and ethical horse in the world more than Muslims? We act like and then how do we behave? We go to a park and we turn it into a garbage bin. With the people who care the least about the environment, the least about domestic abuse, the least about violence and poverty and disease. We care the least about all these things. But we're going to preach high ethics and morals to everyone. We tell everyone, be like us. We don't drink, we don't do this, and we don't do that. أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ. You're going to go tell people how to live their lives. You can't even take care of yourselves. Why would people accept Islam, is my question. I don't blame anyone who doesn't accept it. Why would they? If they came and took a look at our societies and our communities, whether in the West or the East, why would they do it? I remember my mother told me something once. She's like, I accepted Islam because of your dad. I looked at your dad and the way he lived. I thought it was something amazing. And then I almost lost my faith once I moved back to the Middle East with him. Because this is not. And the only reason she held on to her Islam is that my dad kept on telling her that this is not Islam. What you see, there's nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it at all. Don't just look away. This is not how it's supposed to be done. And that's how she kept on going. It was very sad. It hurts. Really, well, it really does. That's how we've. And subhanAllah, astaghfirullah, we're probably doing the same thing. وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ. And you're the ones who are reciting the book. You know the book, you have the book, it's all there. And you're reciting it and you go tell people to do something you don't do yourself. You can't organize yourself, you have no leadership, you have no direction, you have nothing. You can't take care of your ill, you can't take care of your weak, you can't take care of your elderly. You can't take care of those brothers and sisters who are suffering, you have no voice, you can't give them a voice, you can't do anything. Why would people accept it? I don't know why. I feel bad about this. I know I'm pessimistic sometimes, but I don't believe that you can build unless you can't change unless you identify the problems. If you guys say here's the problems, they have to be crystal clear to everyone so we can start fixing. But if we don't identify problems, if we act like they're not there, that's not there, mental illness is not a problem in our community, no one has that, no one suffers from any of these things. Jinn and sihr and hasad and all that crazy stuff is not a part of our mentality, we don't know how to get rid of it. If we don't know how to get rid of these things, how do we fix it? How do you start moving forward? We don't. Want to believe it's all going well? Oh, good for you. Good luck. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. This is a really important ayah. So important. We'll go back to Surat Al-Baqara for a moment. He said, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. It's you whom we serve, and it's from you whom we seek aid. And I specifically did not say talk about nasta'een in Surat Al-Fatiha because I was waiting for this verse. Because then he came and told you, wasta'inu, and then seek aid using sabr and salah. Use patience and use prayer. What are you seeking aid to do? You're seeking aid to do iyyaka na'bud. You see, all the acts of worship that you do are allowing you to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The acts of worship, the actual salah is not serving Allah. Serving Allah is when you go out and you fulfill His commands on earth. And you take by the hand of the orphan and the miskeen. And you bring justice to a place where there's oppression. That is ibadah. That is how you serve Him. The acts of worship, this is isti'ana. You're using those to achieve that goal. That's why He didn't say, wa'budu bis-sabri was-salah. He said, wasta'inu, use those as aid. Use sabr and salah. SubhanAllah, very specific. وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ, it's difficult to do. إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ, except those who have closeness, who have a certain level of closeness to God. Only the ones who can actually do that. Who can actually pray and use their prayer as fuel to continue to do their job the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to do it. Only those who have something in their heart. Some sincerity, some realness, some uniqueness inside. And if they do it, then they will use their patience and use salah, and they'll go forward in life and they'll serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appropriately in the way He wants. Okay, so that's the first part. The Banu Israel commands up to ayah number 46. From 47 to 66, so if you take a look at the ayat, from 47, where he starts saying, Ya Bani Israel, اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأني فضلتكم على العالمين. O Bani Israel, remember the blessing I gave upon you, and that I chose you, and that I favored you over everyone. Over everyone. So what does that mean? Again, if we're learning from Banu Israel, it's the same thing. They were favored overall, and then we were favored after them. But what does that mean, that we're favored? Well, he's going to show you what it means. Does it mean that we're better? We're higher ranked? We're close? No. It means that you were given a higher responsibility. You were given more guidance. So you're expected to behave better. You're expected to perform better. That's all it means. It never meant anything else. Today, that's not how they understand it. And it's not how we understand it either. They definitely don't use it that way. And we're not doing any better. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favored them at a certain period of time and then favored us after is not that He loves us more and that we're closer to Him. No, it means that He gave us the opportunity and He expects us to perform at a higher level than others because He gave us a higher responsibility. That's all it means. And then He gives us all the examples of how many times they messed up. All the repeated mistakes. So from 47 to 66. You look at the verses, they go on quite a while. And they talk about how Bani Israel were saved from Fir'aun, ayah number 49. وَإِذْ نَجَّيْنَاكُمْ مِنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ. You were saved. وَإِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ, ayah number 50. And then we split the sea for you. And you saw it with your eyes, and you saw Fir'aun drown with your own eyes. وَإِذْ وَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 40 لَيْلَةً. And we gave Musa a 40-night appointment to teach him the Torah. And he came back to you, and you were already worshipping the calf. We just saved you from Fir'aun, split the sea for you, and drowned him. And immediately, ثُمَّ اتَّخَذْتُمُ الْعِجْلَ ثُمَّ عَفَوْنَا عَنْكُمْ, ayah number 52. And then we forgave you for that. But you don't think. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ, so maybe you'll show some gratitude that we forgave you for that. And with آتَيْنَا مُوسَى الْكِتَابَ, ayah number 53. We gave Musa the book, and we gave him the difference, meaning the way of Furqan means the way of life that will make you different, that will allow you to become better. Furqan is farq, it's a difference. This is what will make the difference. You take this, you live by it, it'll make the difference. It will achieve the difference between you and others living around you. You'll start living in a better way and doing a better job. And becoming more compassionate and more humble and more effective and efficient. Ayah number 54. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ يَا قَوْمِ إِنَّكُمْ ظَلَمْتُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ. And then Musa reminds them of their mistake and asks them to repent. Some of them do, some of them don't. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not just here to bash Banu Israel. In ayah number 54 He says that they repented. Right? What I'm going to do next time is try and have somehow maybe half of the screen, the page that we're talking about. I think that would be even more, right? Wouldn't it be helpful if the page was up there? Yeah, I don't know how to I'm not that good. We'll try and find a way to maybe split the page in half, and that way the page that we're talking about is there, so if you're not looking at the Quran, you can see the page up there. Inshallah, next time try to do that. Done. So he tells them, فَاقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ عِنْدَ بَارِئِكُمْ. He told them to perform a certain act of repentance. So فَتَابَ عَلَيْكُمْ. And they did it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repented, accepted their repentance. He accepted their repentance. إِنَّهُ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. Now everything when Israel did was wrong. At that moment when they made that mistake, they repented, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted their repentance. And they said, وَإِذْ قُلْتُمْ يَا مُوسَى لَن نُؤْمِنَ لَكَ حَتَّى نَرَى اللَّهَ جَهْرًا, ayah number 55. And then you go ahead and, yes, go ahead.
You explained فَاقْتُلُوا
أَنفُسَكُمْ. We don't really know for sure. There are different opinions among scholars, and that's why I didn't really talk about it, because I don't know exactly what the meaning is there. Some scholars say that they were asked to perform a ritual where they ended their own lives. We don't know exactly what that meant. It could mean something else as well. فَاقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ could mean that you have to destroy your inner arrogance and vanity. But nafs as in the figurative nafs, meaning that you have to go take some time alone and learn to take away your arrogance and vanity and come back humble. Right? So both could apply. I don't know. I don't think it really matters. Because the point here that you're learning is that they were asked to repent, they did it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted their repentance. The details, I don't know. The scholars aren't very clear on it. There's a lot of difference of opinion. Yeah, that's what I mean. Kill your nafs as in take away vanity and arrogance, or kill your ego. So both ways are proper. You can understand them both ways. It's not a problem however you want to look at it. But I mean, if you're someone who read the tafsir, the traditional tafsir, and you saw that it meant to end their own lives, that's fine. I kind of side on I'm on the side that it was to kill your ego, to take away your arrogance. Allahu a'lam, we're not sure. But the point is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted their repentance, meaning they were given a command and they actually did it. So everything they did was wrong, and it's all there for us to learn from. But then they go ahead and they say, لَن نُؤْمِنَ لَكَ حَتَّى نَرَى اللَّهَ جَهْرًا. We won't believe in you for you. Look, Musa, we're on the rails here. We're trying to believe. We're not doing very well. If for this to work, we need to see God. We need to see God. You get to speak to Him. It's not fair. We have to see Him. فَأَخَذَتْكُمُ الصَّاعِقَةُ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with a bolt of lightning or a sa'iqah, we're not sure what that exactly means, took all their lives. So ثُمَّ بَعَثْنَاكُمْ. Then He brought them back to life again. So they didn't see God, but they died and they were resurrected. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. How many chances have they been given so far? Just on this page. Chance after chance. You make a mistake, and then we go ahead and forgive you. And then you repent and we accept it. And then you go ahead and ask you have the audacity, you have the acts to see God yourselves. We won't believe in you unless we see. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them another chance. وَظَلَّلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْغَمَامِ. Not only were they resurrected, they were given the ghamam. وَأَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَنَّ وَالسَّلْوَى. Meaning for 40 years you didn't have to work for your food. Water came to you and food came to you. All you have to do is just learn. Salamtak. They learned nothing. They didn't want. وَمَا ظَلَمُونَا. And they didn't oppress us. Another complex of the Quran. Another Quranic complex. Another phrase that you need to know. وَمَا ظَلَمُونَا. They never oppressed us. Nothing you do oppresses Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never misunderstand this. That when you don't listen to Him or you disobey Him, it never means that you oppressed Allah or you harmed Allah. No. You have no ability to do that. None of us do. But what you do is you oppress yourself. وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. You oppress yourself. You harm yourselves. And then that... Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's fault. And the ayat 58 and 59 continue. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا ادْخُلُوا هَذِهِ الْقَرْيَةِ. And then we told you, enter the Holy Land. Enter Jerusalem. فَكُلُوا مِنْهَا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمْ رَغَدًا. Eat from wherever you want. It's na'im for you. رَغَدًا. It's something for you to enjoy. وَادْخُلُوا الْبَابَ سُجَّدًا. Enter with humility. Enter like the Prophet ﷺ entered Fatih Makkah. Now you know how he learned it. Now you know why the Prophet ﷺ, when he entered Mecca, he entered with his head touching the mane of his horse in full humility. Why? Because he heard وَدْخُلُوا الْبَابَ سُجَّدًا. But Bani Israel didn't do it. They didn't do it. So Allah said, the Prophet ﷺ was like, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to enter the city sujjada in full humility. And you can see the Prophet ﷺ learning from the Quran. It's beautiful. Well, it's beautiful when you read. This is a early Madani surah. He was going to follow this command 10 years later. Exactly the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it. وَقُولُوا حِطَّةٌ. Ask for forgiveness. نَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ خَطَايَاكُمْ. We will forgive your sins. وَسَنَزِيدُ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. We will offer more to those who are show excellence. فَبَدَّلَ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا قَوْلًا غَيْرَ الَّذِي قِيلَ لَهُمْ. And then the people in Islam who oppressed themselves, they changed all. They entered with arrogance, they didn't ask for forgiveness, and they ruined it all, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them. We're going to talk about ayat number 58, 59 later, once we come to Surat Al-Baqara. There's two verses that are almost identical. Almost identical, if not for what? 16 differences? 16 differences. One of the most two difficult set of verses to memorize. There are 16 differences. Or maybe less, maybe I have it wrong. But it's between 12 and 16. Maybe 12. Maybe a very large number of differences in two verses. And I will tell you exactly why, each one of them. And you'll see how, because this surah talks about this, and this surah is talking about this. That's why they're completely different in the way they're going to be. So even the same words are being told. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding Banu Israel of His ni'mah. How you see what I gave you? I gave you this, and look at my ni'mah, look at my blessing upon you. Look how many things I gave you, look how you behaved. And so that's not the point. So He uses different wordings. We'll talk about that inshallah once we come to it. And then it gives us the example when Musa a.s. finally had them stay around Jerusalem, and they were given a place to eat, and there was water. With قُلْتُمْ يَا Musa, ayah number 61, لَن نَصْبِرَ عَلَى طَعَامٍ وَاحِدٍ. No, the food is not enough. You don't like the food, Musa. You want more to eat. You refused to enter Jerusalem when you were told to do it, and you were punished. And now, after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you water and gave you sustenance. And you're saying, no, we want more food. فادع لنا ربك, ask your Lord, يخرج لنا مما تنبت الأرض من بقلها وقثائها وفومها وعدسها وبصلها. Very, mashallah, very, very specific request. Yeah, Musa, ask your Lord, we would like baql, we would like certain types of wheat, or we would like grain, وقثائها, we would like cucumbers, we would like fool, we would like certain types of fool, we would like adas, we want lentils, وبصلها, we would like onions. This earth is not, the place we're living in doesn't have all that. Ask your Lord to take us to a place. قَالَ أَتَسْتَبْدِلُونَ الَّذِي هُوَ أَدْنَى بِالَّذِي هُوَ خَيْرٌ. You don't want to go into Jerusalem where those things don't exist at the time. And you want to go to a place where it does, just because you don't have, just for the food? For the food. You're going to go from the Holy Land to somewhere else for the food. I go to Egypt. What can I tell you? This is your mentality. اهبطوا مصرا فإن لكم ما سألتم وضربت عليهم الذلة والمسكنة. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them with continuous humility, not the good type of humility, but the bad type of humiliation. والمسكنة, and having no integrity, because they didn't, everything He gave them subhanahu wa ta'ala, they continued to focus on the wrong thing and ask for the repeated mistakes. That's up to ayah number 61. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about at the end of Musa alayhi salam, أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ الطُّورَ خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ. At a certain point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a mountain almost crumble upon them. Yes?
Go back to Egypt type of food. Is it referring to the slavery they were in before?
It could be reference to the slavery. It could be for just the fact that they weren't fulfilling their purpose and they lacked that. It could be. We don't know for sure. Historians still differ whether that was, whether this was, we don't know if the timeline is exact, but it could be that they were enslaved for at least a couple of centuries. It could be this is what they're talking about. It could be something else. I am not sure. Allah ta'ala. Yes?
How can we learn from verse 61? How does that apply to us?
So very simple. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you something that is high quality, but it's not exactly what you want, meaning there are certain aspects of it that you're not happy with, but it's a very high quality thing. You're given an opportunity that is great. We all have that in our lives. We all have the opportunity to achieve great things, but we'd rather do something that is worthless and useless. Every child and every young person in their lives are given the opportunity to go to the best university, to learn the best, and to work and to become the best in their field, but they'd rather PlayStation for 6 hours, 7 hours a day. Why are you going from this to this? Why? Because this is a bit more fun, because it's more enjoyable. Is that why? For them it was food. But they'd rather food than fulfilling the purpose in Jerusalem. Why? Because it's just easier. They want a better cuisine apparently at the time. And for many of us, we have the same problem, where we don't value what is valuable. So we don't know what we actually have. We look for something else. For example, if you're married, you have a spouse who's fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who love you, who cherish you, who take care of all the great things, but you're focused on maybe something dumb, like, she's not as physically the way you want her to look, or he doesn't look, or he doesn't dress the way, some stupid thing that is based on appearance, or maybe she doesn't, when she cooks, she doesn't put as much salt as you would like, or some silly thing that is useless, that's meaningless. You're going to exchange this, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you in its high value for something simple? Sometimes He'll tell you, ihbitu, alright, take it. You want it? You don't want it? Take it. And then 15 years later, 10 years later, 50 years later, you'll look back and say, what was I thinking? How did I? Everyone does it, by the way. We're just not very good at acknowledging it and later on admitting. If you're young, be smart. Value what you have. Make sure you know what you're given. Make sure the opportunities you have are clear to you, so that He doesn't take them away, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and give you something worthless. What happens a lot? You're given here, take this. The best thing of all. And you're like, I'd rather hang out with my friends. I'd rather do this or that. I'd rather enjoy my time. Fine. Subhanahu wa ta'ala will take it away and give you what you wanted. 20 years later, you come back and say, I don't know what happened. Shaykh, I don't know what happened. Remember, I used to come to the masjid, I used to come to your halaqah, I used to memorize Quran. Look at me now. Tattoos and a mess. Yeah, I can see. It happens to many people. Alhamdulillah, yes. Ihbitu, yeah, ihbitu, go down. Yeah, you're falling down. Yeah, that's exactly why he said ihbitu. Has nothing to do with the geography of the area. It's ihbitu as in fall down to something less important and less valuable. The ayat after that talked about وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ وَاذْكُرُوا مَا فِيهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Ayat number 363. ثُمَّ تَوَلَّيْتُم مِّن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ فَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ لَكُنتُم مِّنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. At the end of Musa alayhi salam's life with Banu Israel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a mountain shake and almost crumble upon them. And before it fell upon them, He was telling them, take the book, Banu Israel. Take it strong. Take it solidly. Stop playing around or else this mountain will come down. They said, okay, we'll take it. And then after they took it, تَوَلَّيْتُم, they didn't do it. After they were away from the mountain, they threw it away again. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's bounty and His rahmah, He didn't punish them. He gave them another chance. وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمْ. And then He talks about the concept of the Sabt, where they were told not to work on Saturday, so they would throw their nets on Friday night and pick them up on Sunday night and Sunday morning, thinking they were fooling God. فَقُلْنَا لَهُمْ كُونُوا قِرَدَةً خَاسِئِينَ فَجَعَلْنَاهَا نَكَالًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهَا وَمَا خَلْفَهَا مَوْعِظَةً لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And they were punished at that point by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The concept of becoming apes or qirada is more of a figure of speech than it is, like they weren't actually turned into apes. They didn't become animals. No. It's just that their level of functioning, as far as Allah is concerned, from a spiritual perspective, they were acting as if they had no choice, as if they didn't have a higher level of functioning. As if they didn't understand spirituality and they didn't understand greater meanings in life. They were living like animals in terms of the way they thought, not in terms of their figure. And that's the end of the second paragraph. Ayah number 61 is the one, of course, who asked me the question? Someone asked me the question, and you asked me the question, or you did, yeah. So we're going to talk about reducing status. That's what Ayah 61, meaning they reduced their own status from being destined to greatness to being destined to nothing, because they wanted fool and adas and basal. That's what they wanted. So here you go. Here's fool and adas and basal, as you like. Okay. I think we're out of time. Yes, we are. So I didn't get to it. So you can see it's written in blue because it's special. That's how creative I am. So we'll talk about the story of Al-Baqarah. It's still a part of Banu Israel's story, but this is the story that Allah called the surah based on. The first surah in the Quran that tells you your mission, that explains the deen in basics, was named the cow. You may think, why would I name it? No. It's a very, very relevant name. Why? Because it talks about a story that is extremely deep. I wrote a couple of papers during my years of university, and the paper I wrote for graduation was based on the story of Al-Baqarah. Just a breakdown of why it's there and what the point of it is. So I'll get to brag about explaining this inshallah next week, and inshallah jazakumullah khair. Was this helpful in general? Is this okay? Fixing it like this would work? Okay, khalas tamam, alhamdulillah. Give me more feedback. If it's too deep or not enough, let me know and we'll try to tweak this as we go along. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.